Welcome to the Limit Free Life Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. I bring you tips, advice, and guest stories about creating work you love. Whatever type of career or business you have or want, I want to help you find more meaning, money, and happiness. Now we are live from Hollywood. Hello, and welcome to the Limit Free Life Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host, and I have a wonderful guest today with me. I'm so excited to introduce you to him. His name is Scott Lee, and Scott has had a very interesting career and has also had some interesting transitions. And as you know, we love to talk about transition on the Limit Free Life Show. So we're going to bring you some interesting guest interviews, advice, tips. And so today I'm very pleased and honored to have Scott Lee with us to tell you some of his journey. And he can give us some advice and tell us a little about how it is to have had a successful career in entertainment and news and journalism, and then to switch over into something that not many dads switch over into. So I'll let him tell us about that. And then to go back into the professional world again. So I think you'll find it a really interesting show. So please stay with us. And I'm going to tell you a little about Scott Lee. Okay, so Scott Lee is a former news anchor, reporter who has interviewed former U.S. presidents, governors, and celebrities on the red carpet. At age 23, he was a bureau chief reporter in a top 100 market, and by 27, he was anchoring a #1 newscast. But at age 33, he decided to give it all up to become a stay-at-home dad. It was a difficult transition, but more rewarding than he could have ever imagined. Now, after 13 years and with all 3 of his kids in school, he's ready to get back into the game. Scott, welcome.
Hey,
so
Michelle.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm so pleased to have somebody on. I don't think we've had a stay-at-home dad on yet.
Well, there's not many of us around. Actually, they're becoming more and more popular. But just to hear you, when you read my bio, it's still hard for me to wrap my head around me becoming a stay-at-home dad. It's not one of those things I ever imagined I would ever do.
Right.
I've been doing it for 12 years now.
Yeah,
it's
successful career run.
Yeah, and it's kind of surreal, but it's my life experience. And
yeah.
I wouldn't give it up. It's been life-changing and very rewarding, to say the least.
Yeah, and I know from having been a stay-at-home mom for a little while that when I was trying to make that decision whether to leave corporate and really stop my career and stay and take care of my child, I talked to my dad about it, and my dad said, this is something you can't get back. You can always go back to work. You can, have the career your whole life, but that window of time when your kids are little, it's a one-time thing. So,
well, it's interesting you said that, because I talked to my dad when I was thinking about, giving up my career and becoming a stay-at-home dad, and he just, he didn't want to hear it. He's like, Scott, this is not the way I raised you. This is not what men do. He's very old school. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and so I was like, Dad, times are changing. And I had a conversation with my older brother, and he's like, listen, Scott, times are changing. Just, my wife, so my wife's an attorney, and when she became pregnant and we had our first baby, she became partner at a law firm. So I was able to give up my career and to, stay with our baby. And so that's why, I decided to do it. Yeah. So after talking to my brother, he kind of convinced me like that's the right thing to do.
Right.
And I never imagined doing it for 12 years. And, we had two more kids, so we have 3 total now.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think my time has come to jump back out there.
Yeah. Well, when we get toward the end, I'll get some ideas from you about what you've learned too from being a stay-at-home dad, because I found it's so underrated. I mean, what you learn being a parent full-time, it's just really the saddest thing to me that people don't realize the amount of work and energy and the discipline that you have to have in so many areas. And there's so much that you learn that really is transferable back into the workplace later.
Sure.
But so it is, it's kind of unfortunate we have to say this, but it is a unique situation as a man to do that, because I'm sure there's so much bias around it. Even when I went to go stay home, I had a bias around the women that, I thought I'll be leaving all these smart corporate people who are ambitious, and the people that I'll be hanging out with will be like these people who don't have any ambition. And it was the most untrue thing. I mean, I
Right.
met amazing women who had left an array of careers to take care of their kids. And they were fascinating and wonderful
Sure.
and lovely.
Sure,
So,
and there's always that stereotype,
Yeah.
stay-at-home dad. They're, guys who can't hold down a job. They're lazy, not ambitious, whatever the case may be. And I'm sure, there's some guys out there who might be like that. But, nowadays, women are becoming more successful. They're making more money. And, men are, they're able to stay at home while their wife goes out there and, is
Yeah.
the breadwinner,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, and it's great that you could be okay with that. I think that would be problematic for a lot of people. So it's just one of those interesting, learning experiences and journeys to take. So congratulations to you for taking
thanks.
it, because I think a lot of men might actually want to do that, but not feel like they could. It's the show is called Limit Free Life because
Right.
the idea is that people should feel limit free to make the decisions that are authentic to them. But I don't think men in this world feel particularly free to be stay-at-home dads.
Well, and I think it's an ego thing also.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? I'm not going to, we're kind of like, we're kind of trained, from as children to provide for the family, right? To take care of your wife and your kids. And yeah, it's, and I got to say, it's kind of a blow to my ego, It's not, it's not, all of my friends are, out there working and providing for the family, they're successful, and then there's me. And yeah, it's, but, I was secure enough, I guess, and I was able to accept it. And if, people thought a certain way about me, whatever.
Well, when you use the term providing for the family, I mean, you're providing for the family in huge ways, just not financial ways.
True.
But, so we get really mixed up with how money plays into all of this. But,
Yeah.
And one of the other intriguing things to me is when I left my corporate career, I was pretty ready to leave. I was tired of my corporate career. You, on the other hand, had a career that was kind of a dream career.
It was a great career. Yeah, it was, it was something that I was, I decided to do news when I was in college, still trying to decide what path I was going to take. And I remember sitting in my apartment and I was watching a newscast and I was like, you know what, I think I can do that. And I want to do that because, I love public speaking and, I thought it was interesting, do something different every day and different experiences. And so that's what I decided to do. And, I was fortunate right out of college to get a job in Waco, Texas.
Oh, cool.
And and shortly, after I started, a couple of years later, I became the weekend news anchor, and it just kind of took off. And so, my career was on the up and up. Got a job in Austin, Texas, for the ABC affiliate there.
Can I stop you just to tell
Sure.
for people listening out there who think that would be one of the cooler things? How did you get that job? I mean,
Well, it all started with my internship. I interned in San Antonio. I interned at a radio station first, and then interned over at the CBS affiliate, actually it's the ABC affiliate in San Antonio.
okay.
And I worked hard, I worked hard. I followed the reporters around. I was able to write copy and go out on news stories, and it was really eye-opening. It was the thing I remember, it's funny, the thing I remember about my time in San Antonio as an intern, one of my first stories I was sent out to do was Arnold Schwarzenegger was in town to promote the intercity games, and I was going to go cover, and I was like so excited, I'm going to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger. But it was at the time when, it was right around the time that Princess Diana was killed in the car accident, and his wife, Maria Shriver, was pregnant, and she was also run off the road by paparazzi around the same time. And so my assignments editor, I remember telling me when I was walking out the door with the photographer, he's like, listen, Scott, mention the paparazzi, ask him his thoughts about the paparazzi. And I remember thinking, I was like, why? This is stories about the inner city games, it's like an uplifting, nice story. And I don't think he's going to want to talk about that. But, I was a college kid and I was just doing what I was told. I'm like, fine, okay, whatever. So we go out there. And it was like a press conference type setting. Arnold Schwarzenegger had the photo op and then had a press conference. And all the other news stations had their reporters out there, like full crew.
Right,
and then there's me, an intern there, right?
Yeah.
And all these reporters are asking the questions like, hey, how does it feel, about helping these inner city kids, kids who aren't fortunate to, have things that other kids are, able to have or whatever.
Right.
This went on for 5-10 minutes, and then there's me. I ask him, hey, just a quick question. What are your thoughts on the paparazzi since your wife was run off the road? And I remember he looked at me and he goes, you know what? If I was here to talk about the paparazzi, I would talk about the paparazzi. But I'm not. I'm here to talk about the inner city games. And I remember that look is like the Terminator looking in my eyes. And I was like, oh my God, I felt so small. So, but then after that, we had a one-on-one time, and I explained, why I asked him, and he was totally cool about it, totally nice guy.
Yeah, well, your instincts were right from the start. But.
Yeah, and so I kind of learned there, as an intern, and I carried that, towards, my career later on. But yeah, so back to, my internship, that's where I started. I was able to make a tape, make a reel, and, make connections, and then I graduated, and I started sending it out to several news stations. You have to start off in a small market, right? And so I was able to get on with a top 100 market in Waco, Central Texas, which is my home state as well. So yes, it was great experience.
Yeah. Okay. So, what did you find that there were any particular highlights or challenges along the way as you were moving through that part of your career?
Absolutely. So I was a single guy in my 20s, and it was like my dream job. I wasn't making much money, but I was doing so many cool things.
Yeah.
I was able to, stand on the sidelines of football games. I was able to go backstage at concerts and interview, musicians. I got to interview Willie Nelson, on his tour bus, and I got to interview, Billy Bob Thornton was, kicking off his music career, and, got to, talk to him. There's so many different, interesting people that I got to talk to. But at the same time, that sounds great and everything. But at the same time, I had to report on a lot of tragedies. People, I'd talk to them on the worst days of their lives. Yeah. Days that they lost loved ones, days that their homes were burned down, and that's where it was really challenging for me. I don't have that in me.
Right.
I just don't. I just didn't. I remember another time my news director sent me to a funeral home to talk to a family who had just lost a loved one, and I believe it was a murder. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I can't do that." And so it was really testing. It was a test, and so I refused to do that. I was like, "There's no way possible that I'm going to do that."
Right.
And it's just you put in different situations where I was asked to go to another funeral of a country singer and get video of the memorial or whatever, and I just felt kind of dirty, That's the part of the business I just did not like, and so I wanted to get away from that.
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting. My mom got a journalism degree a zillion years ago, and I remember watching the news with her when I was little, and her always being so upset with the journalists who would talk to, people crying over, someone, and just while they're in mourning or in misery. And yeah, that was something that she would always point out. I've never forgotten it.
So many like murder trials that I would cover where I'd have to talk to the victim's family, and it's just, I remember I would go home. There was one trial I'd cover. It was like a month-long murder trial, and I would go home and just have to oh my God, I'd have to watch like a comedy, or watch a stand-up comic. I gotta get over this.
Right.
I had to, and it was tough. That part of it I don't miss. But at the same time, it was so exciting. It was such an exciting career and a time in my life that I had so much fun. I mean, the people I met and the things that I did, it was unbelievable. I'll never forget that time.
Yeah. I was wondering, I talk a lot with clients about their big why. Why are they doing what they do? Because that's kind of the central anchor that whenever things are kind of going crazy, or you're too tired or whatever, you can always kind of go back to your why and remember why you're doing what you're doing. Was there a why behind going into this business?
Well, I was a single guy, and I figured the girls liked the guys on TV.
Totally true.
No, I'm joking. No, but not really. I'm not joking. No, no. It's when I was in college, when I was a little boy, I was like incredibly shy, like so shy. And you can ask my parents. I never smiled, never talked. I was just incredibly shy, really shy boy. And eventually, probably fourth, fifth, sixth grade, I came out of my shell. And by high school, I was definitely out of my shell and felt comfortable about speaking publicly. And then in college, my major was speech communications.
Wow.
And the reason was because my tests were giving speeches. And I was like, I'd give a speech any day of the week if I don't have to take a test, with a Scantron. So I would that's what I did. And so and that's what just became natural. And like I said, when I was watching the news one night, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. I'd love to do, what that reporter's doing, on location, reporting live. That's exciting, you get the adrenaline flowing, and so that I had a passion for that, and I knew that I was going to make it happen. I mean, there's no denying me. I knew that was what I was going to do, and I'll do whatever it takes, work as hard as I can to make that happen, and that's what I did.
That's interesting in itself, because that belief that you could do this, because I think a lot of people would like to, but wouldn't share that belief that, oh yeah, I can do this and I will do this. Mm-hmm. It's more, it's. I don't know. It's not a common profession. It's something that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily assume they could do.
Well, and there's so many people who told me, like, Scott, it's so competitive out there.
Yeah.
The pay's not great. You're going to start off making, $9 an hour, which, $16,000 a year or whatever.
Yeah.
Scott, there's other things out there for you. There's no guarantees that you're going to make it. And so.
Now, who were the people telling you this?
Who
this
told me?
So interesting.
Yeah. So my assignments editor when I was an intern in San Antonio, the same one who told me to ask the question to Arnold Schwarzenegger about the paparazzi. I remember telling me this, and I'm like, why is he doing this to me?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be helping me, trying to encourage me. Mm-hmm. He's like my teacher, and I want to learn from him.
Right.
And then he's telling me this nonsense, and I'm like, you know what? Fine, you can think that, but I'm gonna do this.
Wow, that's great though that you had that drive. You probably did have the overriding, reason that you wanted this, and then also that belief backing you up, because for a lot of people, that happened to me on an internship too, where the people I was interning with were basically telling me, don't do the thing that you really want to do. It's going to be, the people, or it's going to be terrible for all these different reasons.
That?
I do believe it. And I find the teachers say that to kids, and all the people that you want to have as mentors and you're looking to mentor you, a lot of times they are really negative. So it's really a skill to be able to kind of sift through and see, where it's just them having their own.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, why are they? Are they because maybe they had a bad experience? Are they trying to protect you? Or it's like, hey, I didn't make it. I don't want you to make it either.
Yeah.
Who knows? I can't jump into their head. I have no idea.
But good that you didn't let that stop you.
And
I always think people need to be aware that there are going to be a lot of naysayers out there from everywhere.
My family was supportive.
Yeah.
My friends were supportive. That's all that mattered. I knew that I could do it, and I believed in myself, and that's all that really I cared about.
That's great. Yeah. So you where did it go from the reporting?
So the reporting led to anchoring, and then that led to a job in Austin as a reporter.
Okay.
And then I met my wife.
Okay.
I met my wife at our 10-year class reunion. We went to high school together.
Oh, cool.
But we met at our 10-year class reunion.
Okay.
She was out here in California, and I was in Austin. And so we dated long distance and got married, and then I came out here to California and did more like freelance type work with like video news releases, satellite media tours, still working with news stations, entertainment stations. I would do a lot of red carpet events.
Yeah.
And I eventually started, so I was working with a guy. We started doing like videos, in-room videos for high-end hotels and resorts. So I would go to, like, say, for example, the Four Seasons, Punta Mita. I'd go there, spend a week there, report on the amenities, like the golf, the spa, the dining. It was unbelievable. It was awesome. It was great. And then I would write and produce the show and give it to the hotels, and they could use it for their in-room videos and their websites or whatever. So that was, I was traveling quite a bit, and then that's when my wife got pregnant, and I was able to give that up.
Right. Okay. So yeah, excellent. And then the whole time when you did give it up, did you have an idea for, I'm going to do this for a little while and then I'm going to go back to the same thing you were doing or something different?
Yeah, I always thought that I would go back to work. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I didn't know exactly. I didn't want to go back to local news just because now I was a family man. And in local news, you work evenings, you work weekends, you work holidays.
Okay.
So I definitely didn't want that. And I wanted to write. I actually started writing a book about transitioning into becoming a stay-at-home dad.
Oh,
I thought that was the perfect topic because it was becoming more popular.
Yeah.
And, our baby was, a newborn and didn't do anything. So I just had this time to write. And so I actually did that. And then, in the back of my mind, I was always trying to figure out, I always wanted to do like documentary type work. I love storytelling, and I wanted to do something, with that. But now, recently, voiceover work became an interest of mine because that's what I've done in news. I'd voice over my packages every single day and voice over promos. And that's something I can do from the house. So I built an audio booth in my house, and I thought that would be great and easy because, when I was in news, I always thought, the guy who voices over the promos, like, you're watching NBC 6 News with Scott Lee, that guy. I was like, that guy is like in Omaha, Nebraska, in his pajamas, just voicing over stuff in his house for all these news stations across the country. It's like, he's got it figured out. That's what I want to do. So I researched that. I started taking courses I found a place in Orange County. So I, for several months, took classes, just kind of like, hone my craft or whatever.
Right.
And I eventually made a reel, a voiceover reel, and started submitting it to agents. And I met up with this agent here in Los Angeles, and a very good agent. I was introduced to this agent by a friend of mine. And so during the meeting, she's like, listen, voiceover stuff, yeah, whatever, that's fine. But no, I want to sign you on to do on-camera commercial work.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that, sure. So then I started taking, commercial classes, and it's you're an actor, right?
Right.
You're acting in these, commercials or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's new to me.
Yeah.
I have like several years experience being on camera, but when it comes to commercial stuff, I'm not an actor. So
it really is a career shift and a transition.
Big time.
Yeah.
I'm learning, new skills and everything. So who knows where it's going to take me? I mean, I want to do hosting to become a spokesperson type.
Yeah.
Because I could be myself.
Right.
I won't be acting. I'll be myself.
Right.
And so that's what I'm working on right now. But it's interesting, it's kind of opened a door. So I was asked to audition for a short film, which I did, and I got the part.
Oh,
I landed the
nice.
part, and so we're filming this weekend this short film.
Fun.
Something that I never thought that I would ever do,
Right.
because I never thought of myself as an actor type. But whatever, hey, limit-free life. I'm not going to put limits on my life, so I'm just going to see where I'm going to ride the wave.
Oh, I love that. Okay, because it is true. Who knows? You're saying yes to opportunities that are showing up for you, and that does open all kinds of doors. So, and you could easily tell yourself, "Oh, that's not my background,"
Sure. But hey, this sounds fun. It sounds fun. It sounds like a great experience. My kids are in school now, and so I have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
And I'm choosing not to just stay at home and do nothing.
Laundry.
Not like I would do nothing. I mean, it's interesting.
You wouldn't do nothing.
Well, because there's always something to do to manage a house.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
whether the cooking, cleaning,
Oh, it's never ending.
It's never ending. But that's not, I'm not wired to do that, and that's not what I want to do. I mean, I don't know if am I being selfish by saying that, because the kids still need me, but they're fine. They'll be fine. I just figured like right now is a time in my life that I'm going to start doing something that I really want to do, that I have a passion for.
Yeah, I actually think, I just thought this now, but that women could really learn a lot from what you're saying, because I think a lot of women, what happens is they stay home with their kids, they fall into that there's always too much to do. I mean, there's always so much in the house that you could take care of, or, things for the kids' school or whatever it is. You could busy yourself to, and work 20 hours a day with the busyness. And I think that's the trap a lot of people fall into. And then they don't feel limit free. Then they feel very much like, I can't do anything. I'm underwater with all of these chores.
Right.
And they don't really make that decision that you're making that, okay, there is that stuff. But I don't necessarily need to be a slave to that. I can step out of that and go do my life again.
Absolutely.
I think women tend to lose their identity and fall into the busyness.
Yeah.
And it either becomes, it's something that either they just don't take control of because they don't make that decision that you're making, or they use it as a fallback. Like, I'm too busy to think about my career right now. And it's, in a way, it's an excuse, I mean, granted, there is all that stuff to do. I don't like discounting it, because I know myself, most of the time I feel like I'm not getting those things done. But it can be a place you go to kind of avoid reinventing yourself or whatever, because you don't really know what that looks like anymore, because you've been a mom, or a dad.
And that's what happened to me. I lost my identity over the years. And I remember like thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? You know, what did I do? My career was, I was on this great path to, having a successful career, and I gave it up. And like, look at me now, I'm doing laundry. What happened to me? Like, who did I become? And as a guy, it's kind of like I'm on like an island, like I don't have that. Yeah, I'm friends with, several moms in the community, but, I'm still a guy, like on my own little island. And it was tough. I mean, it was, so many days, and even, like depression would kind of set in also.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's, I'm being real about that. I would like, it was hard to cope. I'd get into these, points where I'd be like, my God, my kids are great. They're doing great and everything. And, I'm managing the house, but I just lost myself. I just don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, who am I? What happened? What happened to the Scott Lee who was out there, making a name for himself? And so, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, because, a lot of women go through the same thing, and I'm sure, those stay-at-home dads do too. And I want to get back to the point where I'm like, I found myself, I want to find, the Scott Lee that I knew back in the day.
Yeah, no, I think that's great for people to hear, because it's wonderful to take the time and to do, and I like a non-judgmental kind of approach to this whole thing. So, everybody's different, and but I do think there is a tendency to let it maybe go too far. I looked back on the time I was, staying at home, and I wish I'd kept my hands in. I loved it, and I have no regrets at all. And I'm crazy about my kids. I'm glad I had the time. But I wish I kept my hands a little bit more in some professional areas. I mean, I could have benefited from that going back, because it was really like a whole, fresh start. And because you get completely out of it, sometimes, like you say, you lose your confidence, you lose your edge.
Sure.
And I do hear that a lot from people, where they decide to get back in the work world, but they feel like they've lost all their skills. So they're kind of like, well, I'll go and, work at Starbucks or something. And I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. With me, I kind of, I got caught up in, I volunteer a lot, and I coach my kids, my boys' football teams, baseball teams, and, my daughter's soccer teams when she was younger. And so I had that at least, and I really enjoyed that. But now they're getting older, and like I said, they're in school. And so, and I thought about that. What can I do? Go work at a golf course, But it's like, no. It's like, that's, I know what I'm good at, and I know my passions, and that's what I'm going to do.
Right. You really do have to go back and do that process of, who am I? What do I want? All of that kind of introspective thinking about, before you just take a leap and do something that you really don't want to do, but you feel like that's your option.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that you're finding that making that decision and allowing some new things in, new things are happening that are really cool. So,
yeah. And I'm going to go for it. You know, the beauty of this whole thing is if this works out, if this happens, then that's great.
You
that's
mean
awesome.
when it happens?
Well, exactly when. If not, hey, you know, so be it. I give it a shot. But that's, you know, but no, I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, things happen for me, and because when I believe something and I have a passion for it, it just things work out.
Well, I love that too, because that's, you know, we talk a lot about mindset, and mindset is so important, and believing that you can do something is so important. And I think most of the world believes that less is possible for them than it really is. And so, you know, I think that's a good reminder on your part. What are some of the skills that you maybe didn't have before, but you have now from having stayed home with your kids?
Oh, okay. I'm a lot better cook now.
Okay, that's good though.
No, so I mean, obviously, you know, test your patience.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, you need to be really organized, and I mean, it's those. I would say those two things. I've never been like the most organized person in the world, but now I had to do that.
Yeah.
Being on top of schedules and whatnot. But really, you know, testing your patience. I mean, kids can drive you insane, right? At our house. I mean, there's times that there's like, you know, 10 boys at my house.
Yeah.
And
are all three of your kids boys?
No. So my oldest is a girl. She's
Okay.
12 years old, and I have a son who's 10 and a son who's 6.
Okay.
And yeah, my daughter's great. Love her. Love my boys too.
You better be careful.
But you know, they bring their friends over, and they, you know, tear up the house and, you know, play ball, you know, and I try to be the cool dad and everything, but sometimes I'm like, guys, get out, enough's enough, you got to get out of here, you know. Yeah. So but you know, it's fun though. It's fun, you know. I love all those kids, and
it is nice to be around young people. Keeps you feeling young for the most part.
Yeah, but at the same time, I need time with you know with the fellas, you know, with the guys.
Yeah,
I need that adult time as well.
So how do you balance it all? Because I think it's hard to balance everything that you're trying to do.
Yeah, you need me as far as transitioning into my career, or just making time?
Now that you are transitioning back into your career, how do you how do you make it all work? Because you're still a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, well, fortunately now, you know, my daughter's 12 and she can watch the kids, and so and she likes that responsibility.
Okay.
And you know, and if I have to hire a babysitter, then I have to hire a babysitter. But I'm gonna, you know, go for my career, and that's right now. That's the most important thing for me right now. And so, you know, the kids will be fine. Yeah, the kids will be fine. Yeah, and so, you know, if we have to order takeout, we'll order takeout. That's, you know, I'm just not going to be there as often to go to the grocery store, you know, prepare meals or whatever.
Right.
And that's fine, you know. And honestly, you know, the kids they like that, and I think I'm setting a good example for them as well. First of all, they want a happy dad, right?
Right.
Secondly, you know, so I asked my 6-year-old, you know, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And when he tells me that he wants to be a stay-at-home dad and have his wife go to work, then I know that's becoming a problem. I'm like, all right, I need to get back out there and show you what, you know.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I love that, though. I think, I think you should be doing a stay-at-home dad podcast.
Yeah, well, that's it, right?
Yeah.
There's some stories. Oh my God, there's some stories that can be told there.
Yeah.
So
I think it's fascinating and wonderful that you did that. So, but I also like all the stuff you're saying, because I do think everything starts with a decision, and so having made the decision to go back. That's a big one, and that's where everything kind of takes off. And I think that's the other thing that a lot of women, I think, don't make that decision easily.
Well, it's not an easy one to make.
It's not.
And it's not one that's made overnight either. I mean, this has been like a decision years in the making.
Yeah. Well, and the idea that you can let go of some of the responsibilities is kind of good too. Like, you know, okay, well, if I can't cook all the meals, I won't cook all the meals, you know. I mean, that's hard too, because again, it becomes your identity, and then you feel
that's who I was, and becoming a volunteer, and becoming I was on so many different boards, whether it be the baseball board or the school foundation board or the homeowners association board. I just it got to the point, it's like, okay, if I'm gonna get it back out there in the working world, and start my career, I got to trim the fat. And so I trimmed all that fat, and it's pretty much all that's gone.
Right.
I'm still coaching the sports, which I love to do, but everything else I had to push aside. The cooking, the just managing the household in general, it's kind of like, had to push that aside, and it's working out fine.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have, and you don't even have to share what it is, but have you taken the time to kind of visualize where you'd like to see this next version of yourself go?
Yeah. So I've been working on some content to get out there. And like I said, I want to become like a host or a spokesperson and see, where this commercial stuff takes me. I've been going on, audition after audition. It's been pretty amazing. So I signed with my agent about probably 2 months ago.
Okay.
And I had some headshots done, and then I gave them to my agent. And so a couple of days after she started submitting them, I got my first audition. I was like, wow, that was pretty fast. And then it would be like, probably 4 days out of the week, I'd be driving to LA for auditions.
Yeah.
And there was a 2-week period where there was like nothing. I was like, what's going on here? I had to call my agent, like, what's going on here? And she's like, no, this guy's totally normal. Don't worry about it. And then sure enough, it picked back up again, and it's been like every other day coming to LA for auditions. And it's been a lot busier than I thought it would be. And that's great and everything. But, like I said, I'm just working on my content right now to become more of like a spokesperson type.
So having done this type of work early on in your career and now doing it kind of as a, more mature person who's, done something else in the interim, how do you see it differently? Like going on these auditions, is it like, are you super anxious about it? Does the rejection or not rejection feel different than it did early on? How does that work?
No, I'm at a point in my life where it's, I've got nothing to lose, I'm just, I go in there thinking to myself, hey, I'm going to do the best I can. The chances of me getting this are not great because there's, hundreds of guys going for the same spot.
Okay.
So I'm realistic about that.
Okay.
That's not to say that I don't believe that I will get it, because I feel like, if after an audition, I felt like it went pretty well. I was like, I can totally see myself, landing this spot.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, it was like, this was it, all or nothing. And I remember getting rejected, for certain jobs, and it just, it just like, oh man, what's wrong with me? It kind of like questions myself, like, what, what's wrong with me? Am I in the right business? But now, no, the beauty of this whole thing right now is, I'm more mature, and I just, got nothing to lose.
Yeah. So it's a little more fun.
It's a blast. I love it. Even auditions that I totally botched, and I know that I just did so poorly, I'm like, whatever. That was still fun. It's still a great experience. There's no way I'm going to get that job.
Yeah.
But it's there's going to be more auditions, and there's going to be good ones, and there's going to be bad ones, and just got to stay positive.
Yeah,
it beats being at home cooking.
Yeah, so just getting back into being out in the world is probably feeling, kind of energizing in itself.
Oh, sure. Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's totally a new me, and I needed it. I needed it after 12 years of staying at home. I just, it took its toll.
Yeah.
And I just could not. I needed a limit-free life.
Well, pretty soon you might be acting so much that you will be like, oh, wow, remember those days?
And trust me, there's times I drive to LA 4 days in a row and stuck in traffic, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I could be at home doing, just not doing nothing, Yeah. I could be doing laundry and it would be, hanging out in this traffic, for 2 hours that it takes me to drive home.
No, that's great.
No, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
It's been fun, and
So what would you tell somebody who's interested in, first of all, a journalism career today? Because journalism's, it's kind of crazy out there right now.
I think that whole world has changed.
It's
everything from the way they're covering news to, the technology and everything. It's a totally different world. So even if I did jump back into that industry, I would have to learn so much so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the gist of it. You know, I know how to put a story together. I know what, you know, people are interested in. I always looked at, you know, what when I covered a story, is like, why do people want to watch a story? How is it going to affect them? You know, what angle am I going to take? You know, so that's still there, you know, when it comes to, you know, reporting the news. But everything else, I mean, it's you know, it's changed so much. And so, I might be, you know, I feel like a dinosaur getting back in there, and, you know, all these younger people, and I feel like the old guy.
Well, and what about what you're doing now? What I mean, if somebody wanted to do commercials and hosting and things like that, would you tell them to go for it? Or
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If that's what they want to do. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be competitive. I mean, that's what everyone tells you. That's what people tell me. But so what? Somebody's got to land the job.
Yeah.
Why can't it be you?
I think it's interesting that the fact that something is competitive is often the reason people say not to do it. Whether, I mean, regardless, even in business, you know, you have something that you want to be a hairstylist. Oh, there's so many of them already, you know, but it doesn't matter.
People are,
really.
if they think that, then they shouldn't do it. If they don't believe in themselves, then no, they're doing the wrong thing. But, you know, if you have a passion for it and you believe that you can do it, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be tough, sure. And there's going to be rejections.
Right.
And, you know, it's just, you know, give it your all.
Yeah, give it.
If not, you'll regret it, right?
That's the key.
You don't want to live your life like that.
Yeah. So be brave.
You got to be brave. Yeah, you have to have thick skin, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't worry about what people say, you know, like these auditions I go on. I don't care if they love me or hate me. I'm just going to do my best, and I have confidence in myself that I can deliver. And so, you know, but if they don't like it, then, you know, everyone has their own opinion, and it just, you know, you just can't let it get you down, because there's going to be tons of rejections.
Yeah, I love that attitude. It's the same with going on regular job interviews. It's the same thing. You know, I kind of have to prep people, like, you know, with the don't take it personally, and it's not, you know, it isn't even. I mean, there's so many reasons that people don't get jobs of any kind. But you're very, you know, you're not taking this in and creating a story around it if you get rejected, for example. I mean, you know, you sound like you've got the emotion of it really covered here.
Sure. And, you know, the casting director, maybe he hates me, right? Well, there could be 5 others who love me. You just never know who's going to like what. Right? Everyone has their own opinion. Yeah. So you just never know.
That's a very good kind of tempered way of going into it. So I like
and it helps me.
Yeah, for sure. It would help anybody, I think, if they would, because a lot of people will run away from you know, anything that makes them feel disliked or whatever it is. So yeah. So that way you can keep going for the long long haul.
Just you have to have, you know, just set your mind to it, right? It's that old cliche, you know, set your mind to it, and if you love it, go for it. Right. You know, you'll never know unless you try.
Right. And so what do you take, I mean, what do you take away from going on these auditions? And then, you know, when you go home and you think about it, are you paying attention to learning new things, or what happens in that process?
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes you know, the nerves get the best of me. You know, I get a little excited, and and you know, depending on the product, I'll get a little nervous. Like, I'm not familiar with such and such. I auditioned for a hearing aid, and they're looking for men 45 to 65 years old. I'm 45, so I was like on the younger side. So I walk into the audition, I see all these men, gray-haired men, like older men. I'm like, oh my God, there's like no way that I'm going to get hired for this spot. There's no way, right? And so that got into my head, and I totally just botched the audition. And I started it, and I asked the director if I can start over. And, you know, I had the feeling that it was like a room full. It was the client and the director, and they were all looking at me, and I was like, these guys are looking at me like, what am I doing here? You know, and so it messed with my head. Yeah. And so then, you know, I was driving home. I knew that I totally failed on that audition. But, you know, I was like, hey, Scott, whatever, you'll get another one. You know, learn from this. Obviously, they asked you to come audition for a reason.
Yeah, right.
So now I didn't think about that when I was in there.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, they saw my headshot, they saw my resume, like, okay, yeah, we'll audition this guy, we'll bring him in. I didn't think about that at all. I was just thinking, like, these guys are looking at me like, this guy's not so right for this spot.
Right. Yeah. So you do get nervous still, even though you're...
Sure, yeah, but in a good way.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's like, and I'm glad I do get nervous because you get the adrenaline flowing, the juices flowing.
Right.
You know, when you're not nervous, you're just kind of maybe like too relaxed, and when when you would perform, you need to feel the energy, right, and the excitement.
Yeah.
So I do get a little nervous, not too much.
Right.
Back in the day, when I was in news, I remember my first ever news story. My first assignment was to report live at the Bell County Fair in Central Texas, to go live. Okay, I'm like fresh out of college. And my first week, my first news story ever, I'm reporting live on the 5 o'clock news at the state fair.
Wow.
And I was like freaking out. Seriously, I didn't know how I was going to get through this, But I did it. Fortunately, I had someone to interview live.
Yeah.
That helps a lot, right? So I'm not by myself. But I was so nervous. But when that was over with, it was probably like, I don't know, a minute and a half. Oh my God, the feeling I had, oh my God, it felt so good. It's like I just accomplished that. And like this, and I remember thinking to myself, this is what I want to do like for the rest of my life.
Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. So
And even though I didn't do it for the rest of my life, but that's like the feeling I had at that moment. It felt so good.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's a good place to wrap up on, because we use our rational brains a lot in figuring out what we should do for work. And really, we forget to tap into how we feel. And when you have a feeling like that and instantly, okay, this is how I want to feel in my work, that's everything.
Yeah,
that makes
absolutely.
a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
I think this is, I love, the fact that you've successfully transitioned a few times, because transition is part of life. And so, don't you feel very confident in your ability to make basically whatever transition you need to make going forward?
I do. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm ready to do it, make it happen. And maybe we could talk in a few months, and who knows where I'll be.
I love that, actually. That would be great, because transition is hard and scary for most people. And I think it's but it's also a huge part of life for everybody. So I think it's really important to get the skills down to know how to do that and to come out of it positively, like you are. Your attitude is amazing. So
thank you.
I think people can really take away some good, good tips from just what you've been saying.
I hope so. This was fun.
Good. I'm so glad you came on. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. All right, thank you.
Okay. Well, and thank you for being here, listeners. And we're here on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock at UBN Go. And love talking to people about their businesses, their career journeys, and their money mindset. So join us on Wednesdays, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and iHeartRadio and Stitcher and other platforms like that. And you can find us on the Limit Free Life YouTube channel, Limit Free Life Facebook page. And if you have an interest in connecting with Scott, we can find you on Facebook as well. And
you can find me on Facebook and on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, great.
Any questions you have, feel free to send them my way, and I'll do my best to answer them.
That's great. For those journalists and wannabe actors and commercial artists and also stay-at-home dads. He's the guy. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. Go off and create a fabulous career and life, and we'll see you next week. I think one of the most important messages I have to share with the world about the work that I do is that your work is yours to create. This is your piece of art that you can create in your life, and there's really nothing stopping you. Overall, most of us can learn what we need to learn and figure out what we need to figure out and create that fabulous career or business that we dream about. And there's really no reason to think that you can't. My name is Michelle Perkins, and I am the CEO and founder of a company called Limit Free Life. And I help men and women to make dramatic change in their lives so that they can have the fulfillment, fun, and financial prosperity that they have always wanted to find through their work. The main services I offer through Limit Free Life are one-on-one private coaching, group coaching, trainings and seminars, and business consulting. My signature service is one-on-one coaching over a period of time, 3 months, 6 months, even a year. It really allows a person to decide on an outcome that they desire, and then for us to work together to really achieve that outcome in full. The type of clients that I typically work with are professional men and women who are driven to do more, who might be entrepreneurs, but also career professionals who work in organizations who are really looking to do more with their lives and very open to thinking in new ways about what they're doing, and who are willing to take responsibility, do the work, make some changes, and who don't say I can't a whole lot. Clients up-level in a number of ways. For some, they start a business after being in the corporate world. For others, they have an existing business and they really figure out the key and the formula to making that business grow and take off. For some, it's a matter of really developing courage. And for many, it's a matter of up-leveling their view of themselves, what they're capable of, how powerful they are, what their strengths are, and where they can go in life. What I see also is that there's a spark that kind of gets lit, and that flame keeps growing within them, and there are things that they want that maybe they were reluctant to even express that they wanted, and now they just go for it. They have bigger wants and bigger dreams than they had before, and the sense that they can achieve those things. I feel very strongly that money beliefs are foundational to developing a business that can scale and grow and become the business that you want it to be, whatever level of success that is. And for people who feel stuck or their business isn't going the way they want, a lot of times it comes back to some of these money beliefs. So as a certified money mindset coach, I have the training to help people understand where their hidden money beliefs are either interfering in their lives or businesses, or coming into play in some fashion in all the decisions that they're making, both in their business and in their life. The overall mission behind my work is to help people love their work, to find satisfaction, fulfillment, fun, and also to be financially prosperous in what they're doing. That combination to me is a perfect recipe for making work a great part of your life. And so that's my vision, is for people to see work and money as allies in their life and things they can lean on so that they have something that makes them feel important and something that gives them a place to go to develop a sense of identity and purpose and meaning in the world. My greatest hope for my clients is that they will develop a holistic relationship with work, money, and life, and there won't be this separation where they go to work and then they live their life after work, and they will develop work or businesses that they love, they look forward to going to, and they give them the freedom and the income and the happiness that they're looking for in their life.